Now that the belief is formed, the idea, there's a thing in our brain called the reticular activating system, and it's what tries to highlight what is most important or relevant to us in life. And we are always on search for our own theories. We love to prove our own theories. The minute we have this massive feeling of pain, I suck at math. Now your brain is trying to prove to yourself that you are right.
So Sean, tell a little bit about yourself, man.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for inviting me, Greg. So my name is Sean Surgener. I am a peak performance strategist. I work with a lot of different people like executives, CEOs of large corporations, independent companies. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, investors, consulting for the YMCA in Dallas-Fort Worth. So about a year and a half, 2 ago, I worked with the CEO of the Y in Dallas and did a whole year kind of program with me. But I also work with people like college athletes, teenagers. My company branches a couple different things ranging from mindset, peak performance to fitness, helping people overcome some of the barriers that are keeping them from performing at that next level. From, really understanding how to get deeper mission, purpose, and passion to belief systems that might be in the way, which we're going to talk about today, how to create life on your terms and really elevate that performance in life.
So we're talking about limited beliefs today. Where do they come from?
What I want to dive into is what is a belief. We'll talk about limiting beliefs, which are the ones that hold us back. But most importantly, not just identifying it, but how to identify our personal beliefs, destroy them, and then actually create new beliefs and anchor them into our nervous system for immediate massive action. If I were to ask people, what is a belief? How would you describe it without using the word belief?
It's your perception on some type of reality.
A belief is literally just a feeling of certainty about what something is or what something means. And so the reason why beliefs are so important is because they drive every single action, but they also drive all of our inaction. The reason why you guys are on this call right now is because you have some sort of feeling of certainty that there might be some sort of information, strategy, knowledge, or insight that's going to help you level up your performance. Or just like the same reason that you want to work with Greg, you feel that somehow he might have some sort of insight, knowledge, or strategy that's going to help you really level up your real estate investing. But it's the same reason why do some people work out and not watch TV? Well, because they have some sort of belief that there is going to be a more compelling future or change with that instead of watching TV. But why would somebody watch TV and not work out? Well, because there's probably some sort of belief that skipping a workout might not make that big of a difference. And so everything that we do and everything that we do not do always stems from belief. And the equation looks like this. Beliefs determine the actions that we take. And as you probably know, and I'm sure Greg will probably go over, just because you believe something doesn't mean it happens. This is not about just sitting there like, I'm going to be the greatest investor of all time. There is law of attraction, but law of attraction without action is
right. The
is a
belief
joke.
has to go into some type of action.
Right. So the
Belief within itself is nothing.
Right. Beliefs only allow you to have the nervous system shift to take the action, but it's the repeated action over time that compounds that yields results. And so for those of you who are very numbers, money oriented, it's very simple, right? Just like compound interest, investing. If you take $400 a month and you invest it into a fund that earns 10%, you will have well over $1 million over the next 30 plus years. And that is because of the compounded effect of your returns. Another way, 1% improvement every single day is a 37 times result in a year. Here's a really trippy one. If I fold a piece of paper in half 42 times, how thick do you think this would get? So that'd be 1, that'd be 2. But if you can only fold paper in half, I think about 6 or 7 times. But if I could actually fold it in half 42 times, how thick do you think it would get?
It'd probably be super thick, right?
So the thickness would reach the moon.
Really?
Yes. Just like
I was like maybe 5 inches.
a foot. Yeah, no, it would literally, but 42 times reach the moon. That 43rd time would be to the moon and back. And then I think it's 96 times would be bigger than anything in the visible galaxy.
That's crazy.
But remember, all of the action that's needed starts with a belief. So there are 3 stages of a belief. So before we dive into how to identify our limiting beliefs and destroy them, we understand the 3 stages of a belief. The first one is what I call the opinion stage. This is the weakest form of a belief. This is more of an idea. So the opinion stage is the weakest form of a belief. It's held up by very little evidence. The next stage is the actual belief stage. And this is when you truly believe something. Now, belief can still be destroyed, but it's going to take a lot more evidence and it's going to take a lot more stuff to happen for you to start to change your theory on something. The third stage is what we want to get to. and that is the conviction stage. When you have a true conviction about something, no one or nothing is going to tell you differently. That is because of all the supporting evidence he has had over the years and the results that he has gotten him to a point where if someone tried to tell him, I don't know, that real estate stuff, man, it seems risky. I don't know if that, he'd be like, no, if you know what you're doing, this is one of the best strategies that you can do to build wealth for yourself.
So I'm assuming, though, at one point that these beliefs that you think to yourself and you believe to be true, you're not always consciously hearing it all the time.
Right.
So it becomes ingrained in you physically in your in your nervous system and things like that, is why it's so hard to pick them out.
Absolutely.
So how do you trick yourself to believe these things?
Exactly.
Is that what we go?
Okay, so let's talk about how a belief is formed. So I want you to think of a belief like a table. Okay, so you have the tabletop, but what does a table need to support itself?
The legs?
The legs. So the legs of a table or your life experiences. So let's start with a limiting belief. We said that a belief is a feeling of certainty about what something is or what something means. A limiting belief is the belief that does not serve you. And another way of describing a limiting belief is a misinterpretation or a false interpretation of a previous event.
So it's something that you feel, but we know it's not true.
So let's use an example. Let's say that Johnny over here says he sucks at math. You did not come out of the womb of your mother's womb thinking, oh my God, I suck at math, right? So where does this come from? Because we don't have limiting beliefs when we're born. So it comes from a misinterpretation. So maybe in first grade, Johnny's sitting in math class and the teacher's doing their multiplication tables. And he's, Susie, what's 1 times 1? And Susie, 1. Abigail, what's 2 times 2? 4. Then she says, Johnny, what's 3 times 3? And he's 6. Maybe the class laughs, or maybe they don't. But Johnny gets it wrong, and he either has a high level of pain, he's embarrassed, he's humiliated, or he's coming with the idea of, it seems like everybody else is understanding this except me. And so this is when the idea forms. That's the tabletop. And maybe we have one supportive evidence now. A table with 1 leg is not going to be as supportive as 2. With 3, if I have 100 legs on a table, even if a few of those legs fall off, the table's not going anywhere. But if I have 1 leg and that leg breaks, table's screwed, right? Now that the belief is formed, the idea, there's a thing in our brain called the reticular activating system, and it's what tries to highlight what is most important or relevant to us in life. And we are always on search for our own theories. We love to prove our own theories. The minute we have this massive feeling of pain, I suck at math. Now your brain is trying to prove to yourself that you were right. So let's say a week later, someone asks Johnny a math question, and he's not getting it right away. I suck at math. And every single time he has this instance of I'm not good at math, another table leg forms. The more legs, the stronger the belief. It goes from the opinion to the belief to the conviction.
And how are they so influential? You just hear this once, I suck at math. Why is it so hard to get away from those legs?
Basic human condition of action is pain and pleasure. We go towards things that are pleasurable. We avoid things that are painful. And so the minute that we have a very iconic moment or a very significant moment, I was in math class, I got the question wrong, I felt embarrassed, humiliated, whatever, we experienced some sort of pain. Our brain now is connecting, it's trying to figure out, why am I experiencing this pain? It's that math thing going on again. And so now your brain's like, how do I avoid pain? And it says, well, if I can avoid math, I have a better shot. And so then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as it goes along. Because you're avoiding math, you're not growing in it. Because you're not growing in it, you're getting worse compared to other people. And it becomes this cyclical cycle.
It works the other way. It doesn't stay neutral. It's either you're having limiting beliefs or you're having beliefs that are not limiting.
Absolutely.
At all times.
And that's how the limiting belief is formed. The good news is that you can create or destroy any belief that you want. Now, I like to use the Santa Claus analogy for this. How many of you, I can't see everybody, but how many of you believed in Santa Claus at one point in your life? So my question is, Greg, do you still believe in Santa Claus?
Man, now after seeing all these videos on YouTube, I don't know.
Yeah. How does this work? So this is like the most perfect analogy for how beliefs are created and destroyed. When you were really little, maybe 3, 4, 5, whatever, your parents seed an idea in your brain that, hey, if you were a really good boy or girl this year and you write a list out of all the things you want and you send it to Santa Claus, if you were good and you're on the nice list, Santa Claus is going to fly in on his reindeer. He's going to come down the chimney at night when you're asleep. He's going to leave all these wonderful gifts under the tree. And so you're like, okay, whatever. You go to bed. nothing under the tree. You wake up the next morning, all of a sudden gifts everywhere. And it's like all the things you asked for. So the first was the tabletop. That first experience, massive table leg, because you have lots of pleasure. You're like, holy crap, it actually came true. So now every time that you watch Santa Claus movie, you see him at the mall, and every year he keeps coming, more table legs are formed.
You're a kid, you're so much more present to what's going on.
Exactly.
Like, your only thoughts is on that Santa Claus coming in.
Right, exactly. And there comes a point when you are convinced that Santa Claus is the absolute coolest and greatest person to have ever existed. But something changes because you guys don't believe in Santa Claus now. So what happens? There reaches an age, usually late elementary, early middle school, there starts to be conspiracy theories in the school locker room hallways that it's your parents, right? The more and more you hear it, the more you start to question. And this is the most vital point of destroying belief. The way you destroy beliefs are this: massive doubt and massive pain. So how did you get to the point where you started to question and then fully believe that Santa Claus is not real? Think about all the questions you started actually asking yourself. Well, wait a second. How is it that Santa Claus is getting to all the kids in one night? Then you think, well, how is it that he's actually flying reindeer? How does he fit all the gifts in one bag? Like, how big is this bag?
I'll just survive on just a few cookies every now and then.
Right, yeah. And then you're like, we don't have a chimney. How's he even get in this place? I keep hearing this thing about my parents. Is it possible that maybe it could be my parents? How would that work? Maybe they're stashing the presents in the closet or under the bed, and when I go to bed at night, then they're like sneaking in, and that seems a little more practical than flying reindeer and all the kids in one night, right? And then so remember, massive doubt and massive pain. So you get to the point when you finally ask your parents, hey, is it true? I keep hearing that Santa Claus isn't real. It's you guys. And then your parents say, yeah, that's it. And so the last table leg's finally hacked off. Every question that you ask, you're hacking off those table legs. So you're just reversing the production of the table.
So when you have these limiting beliefs, you need to start asking yourself as many questions you can to see whether it's true or not.
Exactly. And I'm going to go through kind of a list of some good questions that you can start asking that can kind of help with that.
One thing for everyone I like to do is every now and then we're talking about limiting beliefs is we have to identify
any area. It could be your real estate investing. It could be your as a real estate agent. I think a lot of you guys are agents. If it's your fitness, like whether it's getting fit, losing weight, if it's your relationships, if you're not performing the way that you want, it's because you have some sort of pain associated to that next level. And one of the biggest factors of pain, not the only one, but one of the biggest factors of pain is your belief systems. And so what I would do, so if you're asking about how do I identify these beliefs, the first thing you start with the highest hierarchy of what I call like your life categories. Identify all the areas of your life that you are not performing the way that you want. Now, the next question is, you want to ask this: what are all the negative thoughts, feelings, and associations that you have to the actions that need to be taken? She goes, for some reason though, I'm struggling with this money thing. She goes, I just cannot get ahead financially. And so I told her, I said, well, you probably have pain associated to more money. She said, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm like, well, okay, what do you think about when you think about making more money in life? She goes, I think about being able to pay for my kids' college, being able to retire one day, being able to travel more. And I'm like, okay, all of those sound pleasurable. But I said, what are all the different negative scriptings and things that you've heard over the course of your life? Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is the root of all evil. It could be that rich people are egotistical or self-centered. All these different things that we tend to hear. I don't have the time. Money's hard to keep. What I came to find out was that she was actually raised by her aunt. And her aunt was actually fairly successful with money. The problem, though, is that her aunt spent all of her time and energy to make money that the girl was neglected growing up. And she harbored a little bit of resentment and pain towards her aunt not being around to help her. And so I said, well, that's interesting. I said, you mentioned you have kids. I said, did you ever question or wonder if maybe if you were to really dive in and succeed financially that you might end up neglecting your kids in the process? And she goes, yeah, no, I do think about it sometimes. Oh, big pain number one. Come to find out she's half Latina and half white. And from her Latina side is very, very poor side of the family. And she said what she's tend to notice with her family is that when people finally break through that poverty line, there becomes a little bit of resentment from family members. Oh, aren't you special? Look at you. And so what we found too is that deep down, she had a little bit of fear of being chastised from friends and family if she really made that next level. So even though she has all this pleasure attached to more vacations and retirement and all these wonderful things, the problem is that she has some really massive pain points, neglecting kids, not being chastised by family. And here is the thing. Even though we go for pleasure and avoid pain, we always avoid pain more than we go for pleasure. And this is what's called an identity conflict, is when there's something you really want. I want to start becoming the greatest real estate investor in my area. I want to get to $20 million, in this next decade in real estate investing. The problem though is that if there's a big pain point in the way, even though we have all this pleasure, if there's not even more pain to your current situation than the pain of change, that change will not occur.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The way we identify limiting beliefs are this. You have to get real with yourself and ask yourself, what are all of the negative thoughts, feelings, associations that I have to this? Anything from there's too many things to learn. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. I don't have the knowledge. Oh, the interest rates are so high. How can you even cash flow right now? All these things. So you've got to really sit and ask yourself, any perceived negative thought, feeling, or association, you need to get that on paper. You need to write it out, because those are the limiting beliefs.
Okay. One exercise that I had a coach did with me a few years back that's helped is what he used to have me write them down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would do is I would download an app on my phone,
Okay.
and I would record like whatever the affirmation was that was
Yep.
the opposite of it
Mhm.
in my voice.
Yep. So we're going to talk about the opposite, so how to create the new empowering belief and then how to anchor it in our nervous system. So here's some questions that you can start asking yourself, because just remember, to destroy any belief, massive doubt, massive pain. So this is not an exhaustive list, but here's a few ideas for you guys to get started on how you could start to destroy these beliefs. Very first question I always ask is, who taught me this? Okay, so if you have this idea that real estate's really, really complicated and really hard, who taught that to you? Was it yourself? Was it your parents? Society? Was it your broke uncle that,
Figure out who it was from. It was like ingrained in us 50
Yeah,
years ago.
and sometimes it's just a societal thing, right? There's a lot of, sometimes it sounds weird, but even though we all want to become wealthy, there's also a lot of negative stigma around building wealth for yourself.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, I had a lady I worked with one time who, same thing, she was really struggling with finances, and her whole thing was that she made okay money, always donated so much money, but it left her broke all the time. She's always trying to help others. And I don't want to be that greedy person who hoards all the money for myself. And so right there's a perfect example of, even though she likes the idea of more money, she's also conflicted by, what if I'm that selfish, greedy person who hoards all my money and just sits on my pile of wealth? And so we have to really start to rescript and reframe why, by actually building your mountain and building the pipelines, you can actually give more. Because if you're just trying to hoard money, to just hoard money in an account, what good is that actually doing? The first question is, who taught me this belief? The second question, is this someone I want to emulate in this particular area of life? Okay, so the reason I mentioned that is, let's say that you heard that your broke Uncle Billy Bob is, oh man, that real estate investing stuff, that's some risky stuff. I had a friend who lost all their money doing it, Of course he does. But if I'm going to get wealth building advice, I want the guy who's got the mansion and the Lambos and the jets, not the guy who's living in a trailer. Now, here's the thing. Billy Bob might have an incredible marriage that's been going on for 40 years, truly in love, best marriage you've ever seen. He might be perfect for marriage advice. That's why I say, do you want to emulate this person in this particular area of life?
Interesting.
Everybody has incredible insight and knowledge, but not in every area. My other question that I'd ask is, am I 100% certain that this is the only truth?
Is
Yes.
this the only way?
Is this the only way? Is it the only truth? Like, is there a risk to real estate? Yeah. Real estate comes with its own set of risks. Just not investing in real estate comes with its own set of risks. So,
That's very true.
yeah. Okay. So the math class kid. So the question for him would be, are you 100% certain that you're not good at math? Is it possible that maybe it was the teacher and maybe it's just not the right teacher? Maybe it's just that you just needed more time. You needed it explained a different way. Or maybe it's not that you don't suck at math. Maybe it's just that particular thing that you're struggling in right now.
Or using it thinking on the fly, they just made a mistake.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Do I want to emulate this person's particular area? Is there any other possible conceivable scenario or explanation for this? So those are some doubtful questions. There's a million ways you can create doubt. It could be is there anybody who has succeeded? So for instance, maybe you're 50 years old and you lost everything. It's too late to get started now. I'm not gonna be able to catch up. Is there anybody who's ever started a business or started investing in real estate at the age of 50 who still created like great wealth over time? Is there anybody that's done it before? There's all kinds of people who literally started at zero at the age of 50, even 60, started a business, became one of the wealthiest people of all time.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, I think he was like 65.
Yeah, exactly. There's also his name's, I think it's like Amancio Ortega or Amancio. He's the guy who owns the umbrella company of Zara and like all that. That guy got his first clothing company, I think not until well into his 50s. And he is, I don't know now, but I think he's something like the fifth richest person in the world or something crazy. I mean, he's worth tens of billions. Those are some doubtful questions. Painful questions would be things like, what has this belief cost me over the last 5, 10, 15 years? Had I not had this belief, what could have been possible? What does it cost those around you by having this belief?
Yep.
Had you not had the belief, how could you have helped your family, your mom, your dad, your siblings, your friends, society, your community? What has this cost you over the last 5, 10, 15 years? And I'd also go for the forward end of what will it continue to cost you? If you hold this same belief in the next 5, 10, 15 plus years, what else could this cost you? Yourself, could be financially, mentally, emotionally, relationship. How is it affecting those around you?
So we come to this revelation now of my belief is it's not my belief. There's no way I believe this anymore. Like, how do you move forward from there?
So once you move forward from that, so one thing is just that constant repetition of destruction, right? Because just because you destroy it, we have to now replace it with a new empowering belief. So Craig was alluding to a little bit ago of like having the newer affirmations. What you want to do,
also have some action to go along with it. Plan together to take that first step. You can't just change your belief. You have to have the action to fuel it.
You have to first pick the belief that you want to have. And if you're like, I don't know what to believe, then find someone that you can model. So for instance, let's say you don't know, maybe your belief right now is that like this whole real estate thing just seems so overwhelming, or I just don't have the money, I don't have the time. Okay, so then I would say, what does Greg believe? And see what his belief is on it and adopt that belief. So if his belief is like, it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. Okay, that's my new belief. But here's the thing, like Greg said, just because you come up with some wonderful saying, I can do anything I set my mind to, your brain's gonna be like, you're full of crap. Right. So the way that you anchor this is what I call little victories. And it's what Greg was mentioning. We have to have very little winnable actions that you do repeatedly. Remember, the new belief is that new tabletop, but you gotta build the legs.
Okay, so now you're working reverse.
Now you're working reverse. You're consciously building the table. And so what you're doing is you come up with a new tabletop, anything, like it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. I'm not too old. I now have more wisdom that I didn't have over the last 20 years. I'm too old to get started, or I'm too young. No, I have more time. Whatever that is, you have the new belief. But the way you're going to anchor it is you've got to find little victories. So let me give you a great example. When I worked with that CEO of the Y, he had hired all kinds of trainers and nutrition people to help him lose weight. And he could not lose weight. And it was because he found working out excruciatingly painful. He's every time I hire someone, I go to the gym with them and I can barely walk out of the gym. I'm in pain. I can't move for a week. And he's like, I don't want to go back. And I said, what we have to do is help you understand that working out can actually be insanely fun, easy to do, and you can actually look forward to it. But because of his previous experiences, he's not going to believe that right away. So guess what the very first workout I had him do was? I had him put on his gym clothes. I was like, put on your gym clothes and that's it for today.
Put your shoes on and walk out the door.
So the next one is you're going to walk out the door. If you're able to, maybe walk to the next house over and then walk back. Then you're going to get into your car and drive to the gym, but then keep on going. Go back home. Then you're going to walk into the gym, but you're not going to work out. You're just going to look around and be like, cool, and then go back home. Then you're going to get on the treadmill for a minute. I can do more in a minute. I know you can. But the thing is, I would rather it be so easy that you're like, wow, that was so simple. And now you're attaching pleasure. The minute you can attach pleasure to your new beliefs, your brain's going to want more of it.
And that's another reason why people it's so hard to get over these, because they're like, okay, now I need this whole new big thing. And
exactly.
if I don't get that one big, huge thing down there, then I'm back to where I was. Instead of just instilling in your brain these little tiny obvious wins.
Yeah, so you've got to find, because remember, the more wins, the quicker the table legs. The more table legs, the firmer the belief. Now, obviously, these table legs are going to get bigger over time because your goals are going to get bigger. And you are going to take more action than just putting on gym clothes. You are eventually going to do a full-on workout. But you want to start with something so easy. If I had you do a 5-minute walk, you're going to be like, well, I can do more than that. Like, you're naturally now going to want to do a little bit more.
And you're always, I beat my goal. All I got to do is do 5 minutes and I'm good.
Exactly. And so that's how you start to form the new belief, but anchored over time. And Greg mentioned on the affirmations, there's a thing called incantations. Some people call it affirmations, you call it incantations. The difference between just mumbling positive words is that when you do an incantation, you're using your whole body in a belief of it. So you're going to say it like, so this is one of the few times I like to say, fake it till you make it. But you want to utilize your whole nervous system, even if you do not believe it yet. You're going to say it like you have the strongest conviction of all time. Because with enough repetition and enough emotional certainty behind what you do, it will begin to change how you think and feel. There's a really great thing called a mirror exercise that a lot of people have used before, and it's very similar where there's different ways you can do a mirror exercise, but one of the ways that you can do it is to help instill new beliefs where you stand in front of a mirror, you say these new beliefs with conviction. Every time you're washing your hands, you're in front of a mirror, you're changing clothes, you keep repeating it and repeating it. I think I might have heard Oprah talk about one time about how she's always struggled with like her weight and like it's, like mental issues. At one point she was fairly suicidal when she was in college. She said that she came across some sort of mirror exercise, and within about 30 days of really going, she started to really see a shift in how she started to believe things. But the thing is, to really anchor the belief, you have to have supporting evidence. You can't just have some, I'm going to be a great investor, and you just keep saying that. You have to find little things that prove that theory. And it could be as simple as, I'm going to learn one small thing about or I'm going to learn how to do a basic 1% rule. Is this property even worth looking into? It could be like just learning a new skill. It could be actually doing something small. I'm going to make one phone call to someone I know that's interested in real estate or whatever, but I'm going to join this class. But
find test your theories too. What would you say if I just gave him a call? It's not that serious.
Exactly.
You're almost giving yourself the permission to make the mistakes.
Yes.
That you're not going to make.
If you guys remember, very early in the call, I said one of the biggest pains is belief systems. But the thing is, one of the other major things that drives all our actions, I call it destiny mapping. And basically we talked about pain and pleasure is what fuels all of our actions. But, there's another layer of pain that can happen, which is that, so we all have what's called moving toward values and moving away from values. So moving toward values are pleasure values like success, certainty, freedom, comfort, significance. Every single thing that you do. If I ask you, why do you really want to invest in real estate? It's not the buildings. Some of you might say, well, I want the extra cash flow, but it's not even the money. The thing is, money is just pieces of paper. Hey, here's 100,000 pieces of paper. Great. What does it represent? The only reason someone wants more cash flow or more wealth, it's not the money, it's not the wealth, it's not the cash flow. It's, I either want more certainty in my life, I want to feel significant at how much, or I have purpose or meaning, or it could be I want some comfort. Or for someone, they might want all that wealth because they think they have a better shot at landing at their dream partner. I can afford to provide for my family, or I'll be able to attract a significant other because I'm successful. I had a guy reach out to me for weight loss. Literally, he's I need to lose 20 pounds. And so I said, okay, great. So we came up with a strategy, a workout strategy, a nutrition strategy. Next week, I call him up. How'd it go? Hey, man, work got so slammed today. This week, I had to stay late, couldn't get to the gym. I was like, okay, I tell you what, let's make it even easier. Let's find an at-home workout that you can do in 10 minutes. And let's talk about how, instead of meal prepping and all that stuff we talked before, let's talk about how to eat out and only eat out this week and still hit your goals. Okay, what happens the next week? I did a workout. I said, let me ask you a question. Why are you actually wanting to lose weight? I said, look, Elon Musk can handle a 10-minute workout, and that guy's a pretty busy dude. I said, why are you trying to lose weight? I said, look, you're not morbidly obese. You did not tell me that you have 3 months to live if you don't lose 100 pounds. So why is this so important to you? Like, look, you look fine. Like, you're fairly healthy. You look fine. What's the issue? I just want to look better. Why you want to look better? So what it really came down to was he just wanted a girlfriend. And his belief system was all the girls I'm attracted to are only attracted to guys that have six packs. So if I want to have that girl, I got to get the six pack. He didn't even care about the six pack. He didn't even care about losing weight. He's only trying to do it because he's over here trying to figure out how to get in a relationship. He wants connection and love. And so I said, you know what?
All was the physique.
Yeah, and his brain Your brain never asks the question, what's the deepest meaning of this? It's going to ask the quickest way of connecting. Oh, it's that fitness. Man, if you get fit, you'll get all kinds of love. Or if I get all this real estate stuff, oh yeah, then I'm going to have all the success. Or I'll have connection, or I'll have significance. And so I said, you know what? I said, forget weight loss, dude. I said, we're not even talking about that anymore. I said, we're going to dive into why your belief systems are jacked up in a way where you think you have to look a certain way to attract a certain person. I said, I know all kinds of beautiful women who actually don't want a guy with a six-pack because they're like, ew, they're too into themselves, or I don't want them prettier than me, or whatever. They have all kinds of things. And so I said, your issue is not weight loss. Your issue is what's going on in here. And then when you fix what's going on in here, you actually might have a better chance at losing weight.
Him or find a girl, either way, anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. Destroying a limiting belief. Lots of doubt, lots of pain. So I tell people, imagine that you're like in a courtroom. And so let's use Greg as an example. Greg, we'll call him Greg 1.0. It's the Greg it's looking at right here. Let's say, because right now Greg has probably some belief that's holding him back to that next level. I don't have time. I'm too spread out, or I don't, whatever, right? And whatever that is. So he's presenting to the jury. Greg can't do anymore, guys. Look at it. He's already got all his real estate he's got to deal with. He's an agent. He's trying to do that. Your job now, as Greg 2.0, is you got to present to the jury all the facts and figures to show why Greg 1.0 is like full of crap. You understand, this guy over here, yeah, Greg 1.0 may feel like he's overwhelmed, but this guy has 10 times the amount of real estate that Greg does, and he has 3 businesses.
Right.
And he has 5 kids, or whatever that might be. And so you've got to, it's like an investigative journalist, or like you're the opposing attorney who's got to present to the court why that's full of crap. So that's why I say find stories, find evidence, ask questions. Am I willing to bet every dollar I ever make that what I believe is 100% true? I don't have the time. Are you willing to bet everything that you own on that you don't have time? So lots of doubt, lots of pain. Once you do that, you got to take each limiting belief and you need to find the new empowering statement that counteracts it. With that empowering statement, you need to come up with a list of all small things that you could do that would support that belief and start taking action right away. Because every time that hey, I managed to work out for 5 minutes, working out wasn't too bad. Oh, great, I feel a little better. So the more you build those table legs, the quicker that belief starts to form. And it goes from the opinion to the belief to the conviction.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Well, definitely tons of information.
Yeah.
And for me, there's a lot to think about with things going. I'm sure all of us are thinking about, like, how could we apply this? Is there anyone that wants to ask Sean some questions?
I'm sorry if I overloaded. A lot to pack in here.
No, so, we're glad we're recording this. So I am. I'm sure everybody's going to go back and re-listen to it anyway.
And then also, I think I was telling Greg, we can find a way to, I've actually got like a pre-recording of a module where I actually talk about all this in depth with step-by-steps, homework assignments, all that stuff. I'll find a way to, if we can get all your emails, or we'll find a way of uploading, but I'll try to give you guys access to one of those modules for the belief systems to give you guys extra walkthrough. And it's actually like a keynote where you have slideshows and visuals and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Or maybe just post it in the Facebook group, the private group.
Yeah, I can find, it's a large file, so I have to figure, we'll figure out some way.
Sure, for sure.
What kind of questions you guys have, or thoughts, opinions?
I see some messages down here. I'm peeking. Crystal said this is great. Yes, it has been. Do you have any questions for Sean? Does anybody? Okay. I feel like there's no question. I mean, you covered everything. Because actually, you explained it in such a way where it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And for me personally, things I haven't thought of. So
yeah,
I know for me, I'm going to have to go back and take a look.
Yeah, like I said, if there's any questions you guys have, I can also share maybe like my email, or I don't know, we'll find a way of getting you guys access to my module you guys can listen to and walk through. It's about a 40-minute module. It walks through step by step, very similar things, but then also has like a homework assignment and kind of walks through those questions and kind of help you guys out as well. So for that, but yeah, I would say, like, just remember, anything can be created or destroyed. When you came out of the womb, there was no thought about what you could or couldn't do. You're present in the moment. And so everything has been a learned behavior based on misinterpretations or of previous events. Just remind yourself, what are the other possibilities? Is there any other conceivable explanation for why this happened?
Wow. Thanks again. I'm going to stop the recording. If no one has any questions. If we want to stick around, we can. But that was amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me. If you guys ever need me to come back, let me know.